as from 15th of January 2021, on the importation, manufacture, possession, sale, supply of use of non-biodegradable single-use plastic products, namely plastic cutlery such as forks, knives, spoons, chopsticks, plastic plates, plastic cups, bowls, trays, plastic straws, including sealed plastic straw, forming an integral part of the packaging of another product, plastic beverage stirrers, plastic hinge containers, plastic lid for single-use plastic products, and receptacles of any shape, with or without lid, which are used to contain food intended for immediate consumption, either for on the spot or takeaway, and supplied for a food service business. Mr. Speaker, sir, the underlying principles of my ministry for any modal shift from non-biodegradable to biodegradable alternatives rests on two fundamentals, that is, the availability and affordability of biodegradable alternatives. Accordingly, to allow manufacturers and importers time to shift to biodegradable alternatives, provision was made for a moratorium ranging from 6 to 9 months for the coming into force of the regulations by 15th January 2021 or 15th of April 2021 for specific products. Representations were, however, received from the Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry regarding the unpreparedness of the local food industry to shift to biodegradable alternatives by the initial deadline of 15th January 2021 in relation to dairy products such as yogurt, ice cream, custard tart, flan, and other desserts, and also the repackaging of fresh, pre-cooked and cooked food using the modified atmosphere packaging technique. The reasons put forth were that, on one hand, internationally biodegradable bowls and cups were not available for hot-filled products, such as jelly and custard tart. On the other hand, other alternatives, such as polylactic acid-based packaging, were available for cold products like yogurt and ice cream. Foreign manufacturers were unwilling to supply these products to our local companies in view of the small scale of our local market. Besides, the unprecedented economic environment brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of its negative bearing on global trade, international travel, production networks, and access to raw materials and new technologies posed further hurdles to the shift from non-biodegradable products to biodegradable alternatives. Mr. Speaker, sir, the MCCI also requested more time to avail of appropriate and affordable biodegradable alternatives with the same proven effectiveness as plastic trays for the packaging of fresh, pre-cooked and cooked food products, particularly meat, using the modified atmosphere packaging technique to extend the shelf line of these products. I am made to understand that alternatives identified so far have not been found to maintain the seal integrity and shelf life of fresh, pre-cooked and cooked food products. In light of proposals received and further reckoning with the difficult economic environment resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, government initially agreed to provide a moratorium of up to 14th of January in respect of the banning of 3 types of non-biodegradable single-use products in specific circumstances only, namely plastic bowls and cups used solely for the packaging of food products such as dairy products, yogurt, ice cream and desserts. Plastic trays used solely for the modified atmosphere packaging of food such as fresh meat and pre-cooked and cooked food products for the purpose of extended shelf life. This moratorium was subsequently extended up to 14th of January 2023, given that the local food industry deplored still not being fully ready to shift to biodegradable alternatives, especially due to constraints imposed by the resurgence of COVID-19 pandemic on the global front. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry is continuously encouraging the local food industry to pursue the shift to biodegradable alternatives. As regards the other non-biodegradable single-use products, which have been completely banned, enforcement operations are being regularly carried out by officers of my ministry, the police de l'environnement, and local authorities.
Le ministre a parlé dans sa réponse que j'ai écoutée attentivement du unpreparedness dans la fabrication locale de certains produits. Le regulation dont on parle est la regulation numéro 156 du 15 juillet 2020, qui a été donc applicable au 15 janvier 2021, selon la réponse du ministre. Ce qui me frappe, Monsieur le Président, c'est que le marchand de Alouda ou le vendeur de Halim aux abords de notre Parlement n'a eu que 6 mois en plein confinement pour se mettre en conformité avec cette loi, alors que les puissants industriels bénéficient de 2 moratoires successifs d'une durée de 2 ans et demi pour se mettre en conformité. Puis-je demander au ministre comment il justifie ce que je considère être une injustice dans le traitement à 2 vitesses accordé aux petits commerçants et aux gros industriels?
Monsieur le Président, je dois dire qu'avant l'entrée en vigueur des différents regulations, il y a eu plusieurs pourparlers avec plusieurs opérateurs, les opérateurs, les importateurs, les fabricants. Et je dois dire que pour tous les autres articles qui ont été bannés depuis janvier 2021, nous n'avons reçu aucune représentation valeur du jour pour ces produits qui ont été bannés. Donc, comme je l'ai dit, Monsieur le Président, dans ma réponse principale, il y a 2 critères principaux qu'on considère lorsqu'on vient de l'avant avec une liste des produits à être bannés, les plastic products à être bannés. Cela concerne l'availability et l'affordability, c'est-à-dire qu'il existe des produits alternatifs et que ces produits alternatifs soient à un prix abordable. Et, Monsieur le Président, valeur du jour, les seuls produits qui n'ont pas été bannés jusqu'à présent, où il y a eu un moratoire additionnel, cela concerne principalement les dairy products. Avec votre permission, je vais répéter ma réponse. Dairy products such as yogurt, ice cream, custard tart, and other desserts, and also the packaging of fresh, pre-cooked, cooked food using the modified atmosphere packaging technique. La question, ce n'est pas une question de pratiquer une politique de 2 poids, 2 mesures, pratiquer qui que ce soit. L'essentiel pour nous, Monsieur le Président, c'est d'assurer une politique de non-compromission en ce qui concerne le plastique, mais quand même, il faut se rendre à l'évidence qu'il y a certains produits qui sont available sur le marché, certains produits qui ne sont pas available ou qui ne sont pas à un prix abordable.
Ces nouveaux produits alternatifs biodégradables qui sont encouragés par la nouvelle loi ne sont valorisables que s'ils sont soumis à des conditions favorables à la biodégradation, la température, l'humidité, le taux d'oxygène, pour notamment pratiquer le compostage ou la fermentation. Si tous ces nouveaux produits qu'on a obligés aux marchands de Alouda ou de Halim d'acheter à plus cher finissent dans les mêmes poubelles, dans le même centre d'enfouissement à Marchicose, cette loi est inutile. Le ministre peut-il donc nous dire si les produits biodégradables concernés par cette loi sont collectés, triés et biodégradés? Si oui, quelle en est la quantité? Et sinon, pourquoi?
Monsieur le Président, moi aussi j'aime beaucoup l'Alouda, j'aime beaucoup l'Halim. Et je peux vous dire que ces produits ne sont pas consommés dans les single-use plastics. Ce sont des bols en plastique. Ces bols en plastique qui peuvent être utilisés plusieurs dizaines de fois ne sont pas considérés comme des single-use plastiques. Donc, ce qui fait que ce sont des bols qui sont toujours utilisés par les marchands d'Alouda et des marchands d'Halim. Donc, Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne la quantité, le nombre qui ont été ramassés, qui ont été compostés, Cela ne fait pas partie du main question, mais si l'honorable vient de l'avant avec un substantive question, c'est avec beaucoup de plaisir que je répondrai à la question, Monsieur le Président.
Next question.
B791.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the contract for the construction of the new cancer hospital and the renovation of the existing building at Solferino was awarded to Swadeshi Civil Infrastructure Private Limited in October 2018 for a sum of 1,043,616 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to parts A and B of the question, the total contract value paid to the contractor as at 7th July 2022 amounts to around 888,041,141 rupees. The project is being funded under the Saudi Fund for Development through a loan agreement. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to part C of the question, I am informed that works in the renovated building were completed in October 2020. The renovated building has been operational since 23rd October 2020, providing chemotherapy sessions to some 100 patients daily with a 75-bedded inpatient facility. The infrastructural works of the new building have reached 97% and are expected to be completed by 15 September 2022. The new cancer hospital, equipped with high-end technical equipment, is expected to be operational in 2023.
Can the Minister confirm whether there has been a geotechnical assessment carried out to the building of the new hospital?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't have this information. I believe that before a contractor will start works with all the building permits, I'm sure that this license of the geotechnical aspect will be done, but as far as I don't have this information with me.
During the week of 4th April 2022, officers of the Nuclear Medicine Department of your ministry, together with one from the EIA, carried out a site visit at the new Solferino Hospital. Can I ask the Minister whether his ministry or himself has received a report which mentions serious shortcomings with a very high degree of water ingression, where even by the water resources unit are talking about water flow passage beneath the hospital, and concerns have been raised concerning the installation and usage and optimal performance of the PET scan in a basement where there is so much humidity.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this is purely a technical aspect in the construction of an infrastructure. Should this question be forwarded to me, I will have, of course, given all the explanation. I request the member to come up next week to give all, so that I can give all these the answers related to this question. I will be glad to give answers on that aspect.
Next question.
B792.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this subsidy scheme was introduced amidst COVID-19 pandemic in July 2021, when external factors beyond the control of government resulted in considerable economic slowdown and price hikes on a number of products. This government took a novel initiative and initially earmarked an envelope of 500 million rupees to subsidize 7 essential commodities of wide consumption by the population, so that some 371 different brands of these products be available to the people at the same price as that of January 2021. The subsidy scheme was a temporary measure for an initial period of 6 months with the expectation that the market would stabilize. However, since then, external factors continued to influence global prices worldwide, and the government decided to extend the subsidy to 30th of June 2022 with an enlarged envelope of 1.35 billion rupees. Unfortunately, with the Russia-Ukraine war and global hikes in food prices, the international supply suffered substantially, market imbalances, and it is not foreseen that the situation would be back to normal soon. This is the reality of the global market today, which is faced by countries worldwide, including Mauritius, and people should not be shielded from that stark reality. Alternatively, measures have also been announced in the budget speech 2022-2023 to provide means to the public, particularly those who are most in need of same, to access their products. These includes, inter alia, a monthly income allowance of 1,000 rupees to those earning a gross income up to 57 rupees, decrease in income tax rate from 15% to 12.5% for those earning more than 53,846 rupees and up to 75,000 monthly, and those people earning between 25,000 to 53,846 monthly, and the income tax rate has been reduced to 10%. Subsidies to maintain prices and supply of essential commodities such as rice, flour, and cooking gas have been maintained. The retail price of scheduled bread has been maintained at ₹2.60. Provision of 500 million rupees to SCC for it to supply essential products such as milk, edible oil, and pulses at a subsidized rate. Increase in the basic retirement pension for retirees, widows, invalid, and orphan by 1,000 and 2,000 are applicable. As such, it is not economically viable to continue to continue the subsidy mechanism. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, this government is not insensitive to the plight of the people and has ruled out an open market structure where products are determined by demand and supply. Immediately after the end of the subsidy mechanism, these 7 products, as well as 5 additional products, namely pasta, wheat cereal, infant food, baby, and adult diapers, have been placed under the price control with a reasonable markup in order to protect consumers from abusive prices. With the introduction of the maximum markup, the average retail prices of 7 essential products are expected to be 23% lower than their real market prices. As regards to infant food and diapers, with the maximum markup, it is expected that the average maximum retail price will be reduced by 8% and 4% respectively. Accordingly, the survey is carried out by the Consumer Affairs of my ministry. The market is reacting satisfactorily to the new regulation.
Honourable Minister, tell the House the number of inspectors carried out in different places across the island as cases of abuses have been increasing daily.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I can assure the honourable member that there are regular visits that are being carried out across the island by officers of my ministry. I don't have the exact figure. That is the number of visits carried out to different retail premises, but I undertake to communicate same to the honourable member.
Can I know from the Minister how many inspectors the ministry have to carry out these duties, at least the number of ministers
Like I
or
said,
inspectors?
Mr. Speaker, sir, we have several officers across the island. I don't have the exact number, but inspections are being carried out.
Next question.
B793.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the District Council of Pamplemousse that the opening of the new synthetic football pitch at Vallée des Paradis, Long Mountain, was delayed due to problem with the lighting system. The problem has now been sorted out, and electricity has been provided, and the floodlights are in good conditions. The Council is now contemplating to open the facility to the public in the very near future.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister maybe request the District Council to add infrastructures for children as well before the opening of the football pitch? Thank you.
Can I request my colleague to repeat the question? I did not follow.
Would the District Council consider to include a children's playground next to the football pitch, maybe before the opening of the football pitch? Would the District Council consider this?
I cannot reply, but I'll convey the message to the District Council. When I met the officers of the ministry, it was in regard to the opening of the facility, that is the football pitch. And I am also a member of the constituency where that football pitch is. My request was that they should open that facility in the very near future. Thank you.
Next question.
B794.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the number of patients awaiting cataract surgery as at 30th June 2022 is as follows. 3,558 patients at Subramanian Bharati Eye Hospital and 449 patients at Suyak Hospital. I'm informed that there are 44 patients who are still awaiting cataract surgery prior to 2020, that is for 2 years because of medical problems. From 1st July 2020 to 30th July 2021, 886 patients are still awaiting for cataract surgery. From 1st July 2021 to 30th June 2022, there are 3,077 patients awaiting for cataract surgery. The total number of cases awaiting cataract surgeries as of 30th June 2022 is therefore 4,007. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards cataract surgeries, I'm informed that 5,742 cases were performed in 2020 and 4,750 in 2021, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reason for an increase in the number of patients who are awaiting surgeries is because of the COVID-19 pandemic, where the bed capacity of Subramanian Bharati Hospital was reduced from 30 males and 30 females to 15 males and 15 females in order to comply with social distancing measures. Moreover, the pre-operative procedures became lengthy as thorough investigation had to be carried out, including PCR tests prior to surgery. This resulted in the admission of patients for up to 2 days prior to those surgeries. With the coming of rapid tests of COVID-19, up to 45 cataract surgeries are being performed on a daily basis.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Please allow me to congratulate you and thank you for the good services given at the Muka Eye Hospital. Can the Honourable Minister state the issues in regards to the traffic and parking situation, very difficult situation at Muka Eye Hospital? Is there any project on the parking and traffic issues?
Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, I totally agree with you that we have parking issues at Muka Eye Hospital at present. That's why the Prime Minister has already announced the new project of Eye Hospital that is coming up shortly. The contract is already awarded to some company, and I believe in the next 2 years we are going to have a new project, a new eye hospital in the vicinity of Eben.
Thank you, Speaker. Given that the number of cases will keep on increasing, can the Honourable Minister give detail to the House to explain how he plans to address this issue?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Suyak Hospital has started carrying out cataract surgeries on a full-fledged basis. In addition, for the state-of-the-art equipment for cataracts and other ophthalmological surgeries that have been donated by Rotary Club of Beaubassin-Rosil recently, these 4 equipment are endowed with cutting-edge technology and unable to carry out more surgeries. So extra sessions also will be carried out as well as to reduce the waiting list. Furthermore, the Ministry is also working out on modalities to enlist the services of private clinics through an expression of interest. So that's how we will be able to decrease the list of cataract surgeries.
Thank you. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House what is the average waiting time from diagnosis of cataract until and so forth patients are called for admissions for surgery?
Mr. Speaker, sir, so for the Subramanian Bharati Eye Hospital, the waiting time for the year of this year is around 35 weeks. And for Suyak Hospital, it is 30 weeks.
Next question.
B795.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as per established protocol in schools, drug-related cases are categorized as criminal offences and are reported to the police. I'm informed that since January 2015 to date, the number of reported cases involving students in relation to abuse of illicit drugs within school premises is 81, and the number outside school premises is 182. As regard cases involving staff over the past 7 years, I'm informed that there are 6 such cases, all outside school premises, 4 teachers, 2 in 2017, 1 in 2020, 1 in 2021, and 2 non-teaching staff, 1 in 2020 and 1 in 2021.
Will the Honourable Minister inform the House whether any survey or study has been carried out to identify if there is any specific educational zone or region or school where the prevalence of drug abuse is more acute than elsewhere, so that additional support could be given to rectors and educators dealing with those students or staff involved in drug abuse, and if yes, to table same.
Mr. Speaker, sir, no such survey has been carried out. However, the Ministry has a program and has got all our schools and staff informed. Presently, there is an awareness program being carried out. We're working with different institutions, la Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille, the CDU, and other institutions, along with the National Education Counseling Services, psychologists of the Ministry. We're working with the heads of schools and the staff so as to raise awareness about such cases and helping them to identify students showing certain signs of distress or of being showing signs of addiction.
And so, will the Minister inform the House what rehabilitation measures have been taken so far, and to state the number of addicted students and staff who have benefited from rehabilitation services and support from educational psychologists working in the Ministry of Education up till now?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Education offers support to the students in the schools. We don't have rehabilitation services. However, our educational psychologists work with the parents, with the teachers, with the students, and try to give them the right support. We follow the students, we give them support, we try to build up their self-esteem, we try to give them coping skills, and we try to help them to develop their strengths and to be aware of their strengths and weaknesses, but we do not have proper rehabilitation services as such. It's just an accompaniment, and we help students with their schoolwork, but the students showing these problems are referred to the Ministry of Health, and parents are encouraged to carry on with the follow-up with the Ministry of Health.
Will the Minister inform the House whether an appraisal of the work done by Drug Use Prevention Rebound Program, for which 4 million rupees is voted annually, has been done, or should we review or revamp our drug use prevention inside and outside schools?
Mr. Speaker, sir, for years now, we've been working with different institutions, trying to bring information and trying to give students the support required. However, for the past 2 years, Mauritius has been working with the United Nations Office for Crime and Drugs, and we have come up with a special program in the curriculum, and we have worked it out along with the MI, and we today have a program in schools, the Get Connected program, targeting students of grade 8, trying to help them to build resilience and to be able to say no to drugs. Over and above this, in this present budget, we've got funds available for coming up with a program known as Rebound, which will be targeting students of grade 10 onwards.
Honorable team. B796.
Mr. Speaker, sir, if the honourable gentleman is referring to housing units that have been built, that are available, but not yet allocated, not yet sold, and therefore empty and vacant, my understanding is that there are remaining units at Dagoutière and Martaba. These are the last 2 NHDC projects completed that are still unoccupied because the applications are still being processed. Interviews have been carried out. Eligibility of applicants is being verified by NHDC. So it's a dynamic picture with the numbers gradually decreasing at Dagoutière and Martaba. If the honourable gentleman is referring to housing units that have already been sold but remain unoccupied, I do not think that the NHDC has a permanent monitoring mechanism on all the NHDC housing complexes built since the early 90s. So the information I have been provided with indicates that there are 21 unoccupied units. I thought the number would be higher, given the number of complaints I get from members of the majority and members of the opposition stating there are persons in need of housing and yet there are housing units that are left unoccupied. But the information I got from the NHDC is that from their records, as at present, there are 21 unoccupied housing units, respectively at Résidence Rose Notre-Dame, Résidence Ambre Montgout, Résidence Épiard d'Épinay, Résidence Alizé Petite Julie, Résidence Célestine Cottage, Résidence Cottagea 2 Cottage, Résidence Marguerite Saint-Julien d'Ottemont, Résidence Bouquinvilliers Camp de Masque, résidence Jade, Camp Itier, résidence Topaz, Souillac, résidence Pierre de Soleil, Souillac, and residence Lys at Bassin. So this is the information I have. Now, the 21 beneficiaries have informed the NHDC that they have not yet moved in due to lack of finance to complete the furnishing of their apartments. Now, with regard to part B of the question, I have answered this question on several occasions. I am informed that under the present laws, it is not possible for the NHDC to take any legal action against the owner of an unoccupied housing units. Hence, the question of considering the recovery and reallocation of unoccupied housing units to needy beneficiaries does not arise. But let me, just to be very clear, quote what I said in answer to my good friend, Honorable Kirin, who put the very same question in December last. And I stated in the House, I'm informed by the NHDC Limited that the purchaser becomes owner de plein droit of his housing unit once the deed of sale is signed before the notary. Consequently, unless the beneficiary breaches a condition of the sale agreement, the NHDC is not empowered to intervene, irrespective of whether a beneficiary occupies or not the house. Now, Mr. Speaker, I am not happy with this situation. I have asked the NHDC for some time now to review this situation. It is not morally right at a time when many persons are deprived of adequate housing, that persons who have bought a housing unit from the NHDC on the ground that they are eligible to housing unit because they have no proper housing should not occupy. I can understand that certain beneficiaries need to gather money to buy furniture. It might take a couple of months, but one would have expected them to move in and then gradually to furnish their apartment. So I have, as I said to Honorable Kirin in December last, requested and insisted that legal advice be sought anew. We are looking at all options. I am particularly interested in the Singaporean example, whereas the Honourable Gentleman knows some 80 to 85% of the housing stock is owned by the state, and they have inserted in the individual contracts a condition that because this is social housing, you cannot leave it unoccupied, you cannot rent it out after buying it, and you cannot sell it off within a very short period of time. So we are looking into it. I wish to assure the Honourable Gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister. I see that you're very much aware of the problem. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister is probably aware that as far back as 2017, 5 years ago, his predecessor, Mr. Sweden, had stated that state law office advice is being sought precisely to find ways as to how to recover these. So 5 years later, I hear the same answer from the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. So it shouldn't be difficult, in my opinion, as a lawyer, to just include in the deed of sale the conditions that you yourself have just mentioned is there in the contract of sales in Singapore. So why is it taking so long?
I share the Honourable Gentleman's frustration. In fact, the advice we have obtained up until now is in the negative, that it cannot be done under our Constitution that guarantees, as the Honourable Gentleman is well aware, the right to freely enjoy one's private property without any adverse interference from the state or any other party. However, I have not given up, and I can assure the Honourable Gentleman that I will try my utmost to see that the situation is changed.
Have I understood correctly the Deputy Prime Minister saying that there is only 21 reported unoccupied unit, but at the same time there does not seem to be a team at the level of NHDC which monitors and carry out on-site inspection of each of the housing units to ascertain how many are in fact currently unoccupied? And if I understood correctly, then wouldn't the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that it is necessary that NHDC has this monitoring team so that they can ascertain the extent of unoccupied premises?
As the Honourable Gentleman is aware, we have a very large number of NHDC housing units, complexes spread all across the island. I don't have the exact figure, but it should be approximately 100, if not more. And it does not, at this point in time, serve any useful purpose, because the figures will not provide a solution in themselves. But both he and I, and all members of this House, know that this is a real problem that we must address. The NHDC tells me there are 21. I suspect there are more, maybe that have gone unnoticed. And this is, again, a dynamic picture. A unit that is occupied today may be unoccupied tomorrow, and we learn about it when the neighbors begin complaining of drug addicts or whatever breaking in. So it is a major preoccupation of mine, as it is of the Honourable Gentleman. I would welcome suggestions and ideas. Let us work together and get this sorted out as soon as possible.
Next question.
B797.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am replying to this parliamentary question on the assumption that the honourable member is referring to the expatriate workers who work in Mauritius on the strength of a work permit issued under the Non-Citizen Employment Restriction Act. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that prior to September 2020, contributions to the National Pension Fund in favour of expatriate workers were payable from the first day of employment, except for those working in the export manufacturing enterprise, where such contributions were payable after a period of 2 years. The rate of contributions by expatriate workers up to August 2020 were to the tune of 3% of their basic salary to the National Pension Fund and 1% to the National Saving Fund. The contributions to the NPF have ceased as from September 2020, following the coming into operation of the Contribution Sociale Généralisée, Regulation 2020 made under the National Pension Act. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed that all contributions to the National Pension Fund that have been made in favour of expatriate workers as at August 2020 are refunded to them under Section 23B1 of the National Pension Act at the expiry of their contract of employment or work permit or on termination of employment. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed that contributions to the National Saving Funds are refundable as lump sum to a non-citizen on the ground of expiry of contract of employment or work permit or termination of employment as provided in the definition of retirement under Section 2B7 of the National Saving Fund Act. However, on the basis of the existing legal provisions, an expatriate workers who have been refunded his MPF NSF contributions and who has not come back to Mauritius for a new contract of employment is not eligible for the refund of his NSF CSG contributions upon expiry of his contract of employment unless he attains the retirement age, that is 65 years. This is, however, considered to be an anomaly which needs to be addressed, especially as the expatriate workers are already abroad when they attain the retirement age. The matter is therefore receiving due consideration. Mr. Speaker, sir, the onus for the timely submission of application for refund of expatriate workers rests on the employees concerned. My ministry intervenes whenever expatriate workers are required to leave the country without being refunded.
there is an anomaly between the NPF and the CSG, as mentioned by the Honourable Minister. Can the Minister envisage to bring amendment to the existing regulation on CSG so as these expatriates are reimbursed their contribution before they return to their respective countries?
Mr. Speaker, sir, as admitted, there is effectively an anomaly, but for any amendment pertaining the Act, it has to be done by the Ministry of Finance.
Next question. You have a question?
May I ask the Honourable Minister when the regulations will be considered to amend for the refund of CHD, if consideration will be given for the deduction of the 1,000 rupees, which is going to be paid to them monthly?
The 1,000 rupees, which was announced to be payable for those earning under 57 rupees, will also be payable to the expatriate workers. And as regard to the anomaly, representations will be made to the Ministry of Finance to that effect, and then a policy decision will have to be taken.
Next question.
B798.
This question has been transferred. The question would be for Mrs. Fukyun Basha.
B799.
Mr. Speaker, sir, following the budget speech 2021-2022, my ministry had a series of consultative meetings with the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, with banking institutions and with the Association of Private Clinics to define the modalities of the zero-interest loan scheme. Following this series of meetings, the Association of Private Clinics informed that 13 clinics, namely Sikea Downy, Les Marianne Wellness Clinic, Jyoti's Clinic, Shisti Shifa Clinic, La Clinique Mauritienne, Clinique Ferrière de Bonsecours, Healthscape Forbach Mauritius Clinic, Nouvelle Clinique du Bon Pasteur, Eagle Clinic, Eagle Oncocare Center Limited, MediSave Clinic, City Clinic, and Mueller Clinic have expressed their intention to sign the Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards banking institution, the State Bank of Mauritius Limited and the MoBank Limited have agreed to participate in the zero-interest loan scheme. A draft Memorandum of Understanding has been prepared to that effect, and the Attorney General Office has been consulted in the matter. Mr. Speaker, sir, a meeting was held at the seat of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development on 4th July 2022 to fine-tune the modalities relating to the zero-interest loan, given that this new scheme would require changes in the banking system software. Banking institutions have requested for 3 to 4 months' time to enable them to bring relevant changes to implement this scheme. The Memorandum of Understanding would be signed in due course. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable ministre peut-il nous donner les raisons pour lesquelles certains traitements sont disponibles dans les cliniques privées, mais non pas dans les hôpitaux publics? Et qu'est-ce qui est fait pour remédier à cela?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would request the honourable member to give me the list of services that are present in the private sector and not in the public sector, to be more clear with the question.
Si je comprends bien, ce scheme est pour les traitements qui ne sont pas disponibles dans les hôpitaux publics, mais seront disponibles dans les cliniques privées.
No, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is not the zero-interest loan scheme for patients. There are so many patients who are following treatment with a private doctor, and that private doctor is not working in the public sector. And if it case, especially in case this patient, they are willing to go for an operation in the private sector. So this is meant for that purpose. And again, I will request the honorable member to give me the whatever services are available in the private clinics which are not available in the public sector.
L'honorable ministre peut-il éclairer la Chambre par rapport au cas des patients qui nécessiteront plus d'un traitement, donc 2 voire de multiples traitements? Est-ce qu'ils seront éligibles pour ces prêts aussi pour tout leur traitement?
Because this question is not clear at all for me. In fact, again, I will say this zero interest loan is for patients who are willing to go any intervention in the private clinic. And this patient, he or she doesn't have that money. He will have a loan from a bank with a zero interest. And this is where the ministry is facilitating that loan, because we'll need to have a memorandum of understanding with the private clinics. So that is the procedures doing that. Now,
Next question.
Yeah.
B800.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that investigations by the police and the Independent Commission against corruption are ongoing.
Yes, I hope that the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister realizes that this investigation has been ongoing since 2019, and there are a lot of those bona fide purchasers who are still waiting for the inquiry to be over. In the meantime, may I propose to the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister to consider the possibility of seeking advice from the Attorney General's office to see if those morcellement can be regularized so as to enable those purchasers to construct their residential home?
First of all, I understand the concern of the Honourable Gentleman that these investigations are taking very, very long indeed, and that this causes hardship, to say the least, for those concerned. So I have instructed my ministry to seek information from the police and ICAC afresh. We have done so on several occasions in the past, but to seek information again as to the status of those investigations. Now, as regards legal advice, so far the legal advice obtained would suggest that we cannot do much about it unless and until the investigations are completed. If the Honourable Gentleman, who is a law practitioner, has specific suggestions, I am quite willing to take it up with the AGO.
From the Deputy Prime Minister, the number of people who has been arrested and interdicted in connection with this inquiry?
I'm afraid I do not have the information at hand. If the Honourable Gentleman will bear with me. No, I would not want to delay matters. Maybe I can communicate the information directly to the Honourable Gentleman.
Yes, can I ask the Deputy Prime Minister, l'ordre de grandeur de fake morcellement permits? How many fake morcellement permits are we talking about?
In this case, we are referring to 37 suspected cases of morcellement permits. 207 concern lots that have already been sold but not yet developed. 118 lots that have not yet been sold, and 62 lots that have already been sold and developed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his reply, the Deputy Prime Minister mentioned about investigation which are being done by ICAC. Can he inform the House how much time it takes when the ICAC has already done the investigation to regularize the case for the people that have borderline under these Muslim?
I'm being asked how long it would take once ICAC has finished the investigation. I'm afraid that is very much a hypothetical question. It's on a case-by-case basis. But obviously, being given the prejudice which would have been caused to the concerned party, we would try to expedite matters. But maybe, Mr. Speaker, with your permission to provide more clarity, I could respond to the query by Honourable Ramphol. The matter was reported to the police on 14th March 2019 and to ICAC. My ministry has requested an update from the police on 22nd April 2019, from ICAC on 2nd June 2020, from the police again on 10th February 2021, from ICAC on 15th February 2021, on 15th July 2021, both to ICAC and the police. In July 2021, we contacted ICAC again. In September 2021, the police informed my ministry that the investigation was still ongoing, and I can go on just to establish that my ministry has been closely following up, and the last we heard on 4th of July, ICAC confirmed that its investigation is still ongoing.
The table has been advised that PQB 836, 818, 823, 812, 829, and 832 have been withdrawn. Well, next question.
B801.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to refer the honourable member to the reply made to PQB 995 on 9th November 2021 by the then acting Prime Minister, wherein he informed the House, amongst others, that my ministry had engaged with Facebook, now Meta, to address the irresponsible online behavior of certain users of that platform. The then acting Prime Minister also informed the House that following online meetings I had in July and August 2021 with Facebook officials, the latter had announced plans to recruit moderators so that content in Mauritian Creole could be addressed. Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, I discussed with high officials of Meta, including the Director of Public Policy for Africa, based in the UK, and the Head of Public Policy for the African region, based in South Africa, and have expressed my deep concern with regards to the response time to address cyber incidents reported to it, and over which we unfortunately do not have any control. I also stress on the importance of Meta employing moderators having proficiency in Mauritian Creole language in order to better discern objectionable posts. The Speaker, accordingly, in a correspondence dated 6th of August 2021, Meta forwarded an advertisement for filling the position of a full-time post of market specialist to be based in the Facebook Dublin office, and had one of its requirements to be fluent in writing and conversational Mauritian Creole, demonstrable ongoing connection with the community in Mauritius, and detailed knowledge of its culture and common practices, amongst others. Further, in February 2022, Meta informed that it had refined its reporting process and was in the final stages of enhancing Mauritian Creole language capacity. As of late, Meta confirmed that it was committed to Mauritius and that it now supports content moderation in Mauritian Creole, but could not give specific details nor provide any information about its employees as per the company policies and their data protection laws. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is to be reckoned that Meta, being a private company, the government of Mauritius has no control over its activities lesser still regarding recruitment of its personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his answer, the Honourable Minister mentioned about the commitment of Meta towards Mauritius. Does this imply that ever since this commitment has been agreed on, let's put it that way, the cases reported on Meta, is it taking more time, or is it being we are finding solutions as soon as possible? Because so far as I have been putting questions here, we have been reporting so many pages, fake profiles, but nothing has been done. But does this commitment, guarantees us that as from now on, all the reported pages, fake profiles would be taken down?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have gathered some figures for the last year, July 2021 till July, as a date, there has been 2,465 incidents related to Facebook that have been reported on the online platform system, that is the MOCOS, the Mauritian Online Reporting System, which is overlooked by the CERT, the Computer Emergency Response Team. And those complaints and incidents have been reported and referred to Meta for action, out of which I'm being informed that 2,189 cases, that is nearly 90% of those cases reported, has been resolved, compared to June 2020 to June 2021, where only 10% were resolved. So it has indeed increased. It has indeed been worked out in a very correct manner, that as of now, things are moving quite fast compared to before. And I guess, Mr. Speaker, so I can confirm that probably that there have been recruitment of Mauritian nationals, including diaspora, to look after these contents, and actions have been taken accordingly. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, the House will recall that the new Cyber Security and Cybercrime Bill was passed in this August Assembly in November 2021, and the Act came into operational in December of last year. And this new legislation, let me remind, criminalizes offenses related to cybercrime and cybersecurity, such as misuse of fake profile, cyberbullying, extortion, and so on. So the law also is there, Mr. Speaker, sir, to take actions against anybody that goes against the law.
The table has been advised that PQ B847, 849 have been withdrawn. Time over.
Motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Statement, my Minister.
Statement.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it is with great shock and profound sadness that I address the House to pay tribute to the late Mr. Shinzo Abe, former Prime Minister of Japan, who was assassinated on 8th of July 2022 while delivering a campaign speech ahead of the upper house election. Mr. Shinzo Abe was a member of a prominent political family. His father, Shintaro Abe, was a leading member of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, and he served as foreign minister from 1982 to 1986. His grandfather, Nobusuke Kishi, served as prime minister from 1957 to 1960, and his great-uncle, Eisaku Sato, served as prime minister from 1964 to 1972. Mr. Abe was first elected as a member of parliament in 1993. In 2003, he was named Secretary General of the Liberal Democratic Party, and in 2006, he became the country's first Prime Minister to have been born after the Second World War and its youngest since the war. He was Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister, having been in office from 2006 to 2007 and from 2012 to 2020. Mr. Abe will be remembered for his visionary leadership and more particularly for his reform agenda to stimulate the ailing Japanese economy. In the context of international relations, Mr. Abe strengthened ties with various countries, including the United States and India in particular, and pursued a more assertive foreign policy. The late Prime Minister, Mr. Abe, was a shining example of a visionary world leader who was committed to the universal values of multilateralism and, in particular, to the emergence of a just and peaceful world order. Indeed, he relentlessly pursued those noble ideals until his last breath. The enhancement of the relations between Africa and Japan also remained one of his priorities, and during his mandates, the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD, evolved into a major global forum, promoting international partnership and African development. In Africa, Mr. Abe will be remembered for such significant achievements. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would also like to pay tribute to late Mr. Abe for his unflinching support in taking the bilateral relations between Mauritius and Japan to new heights. It was under his leadership that Japan decided to establish a diplomatic representation in Mauritius in 2017. Japan has maintained a continuous support to the promotion of the welfare of the Mauritian people through the financing of projects in various areas. Our meeting in Yokohama during the TICAD summit in August 2019 was momentous and laid the foundations for an enduring cooperation between our two countries for the mutual benefit of our peoples. During this meeting, Mr. Abe expressed his interest to collaborate with Mauritius in new areas, including maritime security, and the government of Japan subsequently provided a grant of 100 million Mauritian rupees for the acquisition of 6 high-speed boats. Moreover, the government of Japan also provided assistance for the upgrading of meteorological equipment at the Troussert radar station for better resolution imagery. Our exchanges, I remember with sadness, were warm and touching. I have conveyed the condolences of the government and people of Mauritius to the government and the people of Japan and to the widow, Mrs. Akie Abe, and the family of late Mr. Abe. Thank you.
The big bills for first reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Immigration Bill number 12 of 2022 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Mauritius Food Standards Agency Bill number 13 of 2022 be read a first time.
Seconded.
A big bill second reading.
Honorable Minister Bola.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Academy of Design and Innovation Bill number 11 of 2022 be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am extremely honored today to present to the House the Academy of Design and Innovation Bill, which will bring design to new pedestals. This bill provides for the establishment of an Academy of Design and Innovation, which will take over the functions and powers of the existing Fashion and Design Institute. Consequently, the Fashion and Design Institute Act of 2008 will be repealed. I have deemed it important to introduce this new piece of legislation to better respond to emerging global permutations in the design field. This new bill will address recurring challenges by providing for an adequate supply of a new generation of highly skilled, technologically savvy and versatile labor force in the country. Indeed, we are paving the way for a renaissance in multi-sectoral design fields. The proposed Academy of Design and Innovation will spearhead excellence in several design fields and will provide a new boost to the creative industry in fields such as graphic and multimedia, built-in and architecture, arts and crafts, as well as jewelry. Greater exposure to multi-sectoral designs will be conferred upon the whole gamut of the design sector and will counter the common understanding restricted to fashion and design only. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is to be reckoned that the establishment of the existing Fashion and Design Institute, that is FDI, was one of the recommendations made by a former UNDP consultant, namely Professor Edward Newton, in 2008. He advised that training programs should be provided in the fashion and design field with a view to responding to industry needs. Consequently, the FDI became fully operational in 2009 with the merger of the School of Design of the then Industrial and Vocational Training Board, IVTB, the Department of Textile Technology of the University of Mauritius, and the Textile and Apparel Development Center of the then Enterprise Mauritius. The FDI is currently responsible for the conduct of academic, professional, vocational, and training programs, as well as short courses in the field of fashion and design. The FDI has, since its creation, acquired a wide experience of more than a decade in providing training in the fashion and design field, and it is striving hard to become a reference in the field of creativity and design in Mauritius. The Institute has currently in place 4 faculties, namely Art and Design, Fashion, Media and Communication, and Built-in Environment. The Institute offers 13 programs related to fashion and textile, graphic and multimedia, interior design, media, and jewelry, manufacturing and design at certificate, diploma, and undergraduate levels. Members of the House would recall that in 2017, the responsibility of providing skills in the jewelry sector was entrusted to the FDI through the budget 2017-2018, whereby the Jewelry Center from the Mauritius Institute of Training and Development, MITD, was transferred to the Institute. This policy measure eventually led to the setting up of the Faculty of Jewelry Manufacturing and Design in 2019. And since then, I take pride in mentioning that, as at now, 2 cohorts of students have been trained in this specific field and are already bringing their expertise to the jewelry sector. The Institute has also been active in providing short courses to cater for continuous professional development, as well as increased employability of youngsters. In fact, during the past academic year, the Institute introduced new short courses targeting unemployed youth in photomedia and advertising design, jewelry design and manufacturing, creating artifacts using upcycling materials and natural fibers, and craft design and techniques in collaboration with the Human Resource and Development Council, HRDC. During the same year, the Fashion and Design Institute and the Civil Service College collaborated in developing 2 online courses relating to history of printmaking, printing, and fundamental of design. Mr. Speaker, sir, the institutional experience and knowledge acquired by the FDI during these past few years have enabled the Institute to win international accolades. During the Salon International du Textile Africain, CITA, held in Djibouti, November last year, the Fashion and Design Institute excelled by winning the prize of Best Stylist 2021 out of 22 participating African countries. Furthermore, in March 2022, the Fashion and Design Institute organized its first fashion show in the Middle East in the margin of the Dubai Expo 2020. This show, I must say, was a resounding success and was attended by dignitaries from UAE as well as high-profile fashion designers in the Gulf region. Still in Dubai, the Institute successfully organized in March 2022 an international conference on sustainable and innovative design, regrouping international designers from countries such as Switzerland, Ukraine, Pakistan, and Italy to share experiences in the field of design, innovation, and sustainability. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the FDI has been pursuing a policy of promoting international networking. On this note, it is worth mentioning that in April this year, the Fashion and Design Institute signed an MOU with the Birmingham City University of United Kingdom with the objective of upgrading its level of education and quality of teaching. It is gratifying to note that since its inception, the FDI has trained over 2,000 students in the fashion and design fields. More encouragingly, the Institute is known for having a high employability rate of nearly 90%. It is a matter of pride to highlight that the offspring of the Institute has now become renowned designers, locally and internationally. The former students have either set up their own enterprises or occupy senior positions in reputed textile and clothing firms. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite these eloquent achievements, I must confess that the functions of the FDI are no longer attuned to the present and future needs of the economy. There is an urgent need for the Institute to reinvent itself, to be better equipped to address emerging challenges, and to support the economy in terms of supply of skilled labor force, promoting innovative practices, and the adoption of state-of-the-art technologies in all economic activities. Hence, the setting up of the Academy of Design and Innovation. The Academy will be called upon to exercise a far wider role in promoting design education in the country, as evidenced by the overarching objects stipulated in Clause 4 of the Bill. These are to A. Promote excellence in the design field of fashion and textile, graphic and multimedia, built-in and architecture, jewelry, and arts and crafts. B. Promote multi-sectoral design fields. C. Disseminate knowledge of the design fields. D. Develop a multidisciplinary approach in carrying out research and training in the design fields with a view to ensuring a better coordination of the interests of multi-sectors. E. Provide educational, research, consultancy, and training facilities and services in the design fields. F. Promote with regard to the design fields the development of incubators and entrepreneurs. And G. Promote innovation in the design fields. I wish to emphasize that one of the inherent limitations of the Fashion and Design Act 2008 is that the FDI was not conferred awarding powers. However, the Fashion and Design Institute has made recommendations to its main awarding bodies, such as Pearson, UK, and the University of Technology of Mauritius, for the award of certificates, diplomas, degrees, and other qualifications. However,
In addition to being tedious and time-consuming, this process poses significant cost implications for the FDI, as the latter has to incur additional expenses to remunerate the above-mentioned institutions for the award of these certificates and degree programs. This House will appreciate that Clause 6 of the bill confers a much-needed power for the Academy to award certificates, diplomas, degrees, honorary degrees, and other academic or professional qualifications, whether on its own or jointly with any higher education institutions or international institutions. As such, the Academy in its capacity as an awarding body will be able not only to develop its own programs, but to hold examinations independently. The requirement of making recommendations to any university or any other institution for such awards will no longer arise with the coming into force of this bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, the importance of the Academy cannot be overemphasized, since it will henceforth not only promote excellence in the field of fashion and design, technology, but also explore innovation in other design fields, such as adaptive and medical apparel, technical and small textiles, furniture and ergonomic design, eyewear frame design, luxury jewelry design, as well as built-in environment and green architectural design. This is not an exhaustive list. New emerging global trends in design fields will be tapped into. For instance, the Academy will introduce new concepts in apparel design specifically for people with disabilities or with sensory issues, including comfortable wear for medical use and inclusive concepts to design wearables for all communities. Furthermore, technical and smart textiles, commonly known as functional fabrics and e-textiles, will also be promoted for industrial purposes and everyday use. As for furniture design, ergonomic features in relation to comfort, functionality, and the movement of the human body will also be considered. It is worth mentioning that this type of furniture is becoming more popular in modern design schemes. Design items and accessories for eyewear, such as frames and eyeglass cases, for fashion or adornment and protection against the environment, will also duly taken into consideration. As a consequence, the Academy will be able to extend its services to other sectors of the economy, contrary to the FDI, which was servicing mainly the textile industry. It is also envisaged that the Academy will contribute to the development of smart cities, which are gaining rapid momentum in Mauritius. Design will be called upon to take on a different dimension through more quality teaching, research, and innovation. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius, as an export manufacturing country, is having to compete with many other countries, especially in the textile and clothing sector. It is noted that many of these countries have developed a competitive advantage through the establishment of their own design institutes. These institutes service this sector with the appropriate skill needs and are able to award their own diplomas and degrees. I can, for instance, cite here the Royal Academy of Arts in England and the World University of Design of India and the Dubai Design Academy, which are well known to be among the pantheon of renowned global education institutions in the design fields. Another point worth mentioning is that the fact, and I quote, industrial design combining innovation and creativity is essential for attaining the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, especially Goal 9 on infrastructure, innovation, and sustainable industrialization, end of quote. This statement has been made by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, as an acknowledgement of the key role that design plays in enhancing value addition and overall competitiveness. In fact, with its revamped mandate, I am confident that the Academy will provide value-based innovative industrial design courses and will contribute to the upgrading of technical and human capabilities in the manufacturing sector. Ultimately, this sector will benefit through the development of unique and competitive industrial designs and innovative product lines representing higher value-added goods and greater competitiveness. Another important factor is that with awarding powers, the image and the credibility of the Academy will be enhanced both locally and internationally. This will enable the newly established Academy to foster strong collaborative partnership with local as well as foreign educational institutions. It is expected that the collaboration with international educational institutes will help the Academy to ensure quality education and good business practices, as well as strengthen its expertise in specific skills, development, and research. The setting up of the new Academy will also open a window of opportunities and will attract a greater number of potential students to develop and fine-tune their skills. It is viewed that the Academy of Design and Innovation will be a dynamic platform for research and design for a new generation of students and aspiring entrepreneurs. As a matter of fact, the bill makes provisions at various clauses, namely Clause 4F and Clause 5F, for the Academy to promote entrepreneurship through the creation of incubators, which will lead to more economic growth in the future. The Academy will also set up a user research design development center as part of its revamped mandate. I wish to point out that during the National Policy Dialogue on the manufacturing sector organized by my ministry in collaboration with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa in March 2022, an appeal was made by manufacturers for high-skill training of their workforce. There was a recommendation to set up a dedicated school of textile to respond to the needs of the textile and apparel sector. The Academy of Design and Innovation will give due effect to this proposal by ensuring a proper restructuring of its actual FDI apparel center situated at Vallée des Prêtres by converting it into a user research design development center. This center will house a dedicated unit in textile and material technology to cater for specific industry needs. This center will also focus on addressing short-term as well as long-term challenges relating to sustainability, flexibility, and reliability for greater resilience in the textile and clothing sector. One of the rationales for the creation of the Academy is to strengthen its financial sustainability. Since its inception, the FDI has been heavily reliant on grants from government, even though it was generating a certain amount of revenue. However, this income has been far from sufficient for the Institute to break even, and therefore, it had to continue to rely on state funds. This new bill will empower the Academy to be more financially independent, especially with regards to its recurrent expenses. In fact, the new Academy ambitions to increase the current student population from about 350 to some 1,500 students per year, by year 2026, including international students. This increase of student enrollment, coupled with additional consultancy services to be offered by the Academy, will lead to greater income generation for the Academy. Mr. Speaker, sir, the need to promote services in the manufacturing sector is one of the reasons that has inspired us to come up with an Academy with a revamped and more elaborate mandate. Indeed, in the global commodity chain, research and development, R&D, design and packaging represent important components in the manufacturing process. As a matter of fact, the 5-year strategic plan of my ministry, namely the Industrial Policy and Strategic Plan, IPSP, 2020-2025, has emphasized the importance of upgrading value chains through process upgrading, product development and product design, and use of latest technologies associated with Industry 4.0. Indeed, In the long term, the manufacturing sector has to shift to a more capital and technology-intensive model based on Industry 4.0 technologies. Allow me to cite some examples where R&D, design and packaging could contribute to transform our manufacturing landscape. Mauritius has over 50 years of experience in the manufacturing of textile and clothing. The exports of this sector, which hover around 20 billion rupees, represent 48% of exports within the export-oriented enterprises sector. Many textile enterprises have become global players, exporting to prestigious brands such as Abercrombie & Fitch, Marks & Spencer, Tommy Hilfiger, Woolworth, Asos, Armani, and Calvin Klein. Such a performance of the textile sector has been made possible with the maturity acquired by operators in the R&D and design, amongst others. This sector is certainly poised to grow further, calling for more advanced techniques in R&D and design. And such a strategic requirement will be fulfilled by the new academy through the provision of new courses, training programs, and consultancy services. The jewelry sector is yet another important pillar of the manufacturing sector, driven by enterprises already working with international brands such as Tiffany, Leo Schuster, and Swarovski. The jewelry sector is the third largest subsector within the export-oriented enterprises, with an export value of 3.8 billion rupees in 2021. This sector has to achieve its next lap of development through upgrading and modernization of its production processes. It is viewed that the Academy will have a positive impact on this subsector through the supply of a technically qualified labor force that has long been undermining its growth potential. As indicated earlier, packaging constitutes a critical stage in the manufacturing value chain. Mauritius has the potential to offer services in packaging design locally as well as within the region. I have no doubt that the Academy of Design and Innovation will leave a significant imprint on the packaging industry, given the success of many past students of the FDI in the graphic field. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also important that I shed some light on the capacity of the Academy of Design and Innovation to become an awarding body. I wish to mention that the new governance structure proposed in the bill, together with the maturity acquired by the FDI over the past decades, constitute the essential ingredients for the Academy to become a recognized awarding body. As per Clause 8 of the bill, the Academy will be managed by a board comprising representatives both from the public and private sectors, including representatives of industry associations. Such a constitution displays a fair representation of all stakeholders involved in the design field. The functions and powers of the board have been furthermore delineated in Clause 9, which is in consonance with the overall principles of good governance and management. With a view to attaining its enhanced mandate, the Academy will be manned by strategic new positions at managerial level, established under Clauses 14 to 16 for Head of Academia and Research, Head of Projects, Business Industry Development and Consultancy, and the Registrar. Such provisions will provide an added boost to greater professional paid services that the Academy may provide to the business sector. As for the Registrar, he will be the custodian of records, papers, and documents of the Academy, as in the case of other established universities. Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 19 of the bill provides for the setting up of an academic council comprising key representatives in the education and design field, namely representatives from the Mauritius Examination Syndicate, Higher Education Commission, academic staff, and persons who have wide experience in design fields. This membership is highly relevant and is aligned with the vision of the Academy of Design and Innovation to become a recognized awarding body. The Council will, inter alia, prepare academic, professional, and training programs and will be responsible for the general regulation of teaching, examination, research, and training. It will have the power to recommend to the board the award of relevant certificates, diplomas, and degrees. Akin to senates of universities, the Council will be the authority overseeing teaching and research, as well as academic quality and standards, thereby charting out the overall academic direction of the Academy. Mr. Speaker, sir, as part of its social responsibility to promote talent, the Academy under Clause 25 will be empowered to grant fellowships, scholarships, and bursaries with a view to ensuring access to high-quality education to one and all. This is in line with government's objective to promote social inclusiveness and equality. Mr. Speaker, sir, as members of the House are aware, the Fashion and Design Institute is currently accommodated in 4 separate buildings in 2 different locations, namely Eben and Vallée des Prés. Such a situation is not conducive for an effective learning environment. In a bid to cater for the upcoming broadened activities of the Academy and to bring all its faculties in one location, the Academy will explore new premises to accommodate its campus for enhanced coordination and optimal performance. The proposed campus will be in line with Government Programme 2020-2024 in terms of innovative, greener, cleaner, and sustainable infrastructure, as well as providing for high-quality education in a conducive environment through modern technology. Mr. Speaker, sir, to conclude, I wish to reaffirm that the Academy will confer a multitude of benefits in the educational and continuous professional development fields in Mauritius. Besides offering a better career path to the academic staff, the Academy is geared to become a center of excellence and a leading design hub in the region. May I now, Mr. Speaker, sir, commend the Academy of Design and Innovation Bill to the House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I don't intend to pick a quarrel with the Honorable Minister of Industrial Development, SME and Cooperative, but there are some issues which need to be highlighted. I am glad when he made his concluding remarks, stated very clearly that there's a rallying call to set up a new campus and to bring under one roof all those dispersed institutions. Mr. Speaker, what's in a name? The Minister may argue that 12 sections of the Principal Act, the Fashion and Design Institute, were amended on the 3rd of May 2013, and a new Section 17 was inserted with schedule added to the Principal Act. The Minister rightly pointed out that the Fashion and Design Institute has traveled a long way and to a large extent has delivered. The output and outcome has been good. Now, the purpose of introducing this new legislation has to meet, and I hope that the Minister will walk the talk, and as we say, the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. And I hope so. Now, there is no need to talk of changing the appellation if delivery would not be excellent. And I sincerely hope that all those working in the sector will live up to the expectation and will level up. Because when you look at the explanatory memorandum, I don't think that it justifies the change of appellation simply because of the growing, fast-growing technology in the design field. Now, to me, if the objects are not met, The change in the denomination from Institute of Fashion and Design to Academy of Design and Innovation will simply remain a buzzword. You know, at the beginning, in the good old days, what was the buzzword that was conveyed? Systems, then cluster, paradigm shift, right mindset, out of the box. Now it is innovation and state of technology. In the meantime, Minister, the base is eroding and the circle of courses is being widened without a need analysis. And I would have expected the Minister to say that there had been a need analysis. Now, you may recall, Minister, after an amendment brought to the Institute of Fashion and Design in May 2030 to date, the ministry has not deemed it fit to enlist the expertise of a consultant like McKinsey to make an evaluation and turn the school as a center of repute, a bedrock for design field. You know, I'm sure you've been informed, Minister, that courses are being run in schoolyards. Now, I bow to the commitment of the staff, especially to the good acumen of the teaching staff, but they cannot be expected to have an effortless sense of commitment if, as trainers, their skills are not updated. And who's going to train the trainers? The workplace, you, to some extent, you have conveyed the message that it is not conducive either for the students or for the staff. And the institute is being run down and lacks necessary infrastructure when there's rallying call to embed, of course, artificial intelligence into business models. I grant you, we're miles away from artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, we are being overtaken by our competitors. Computer-aided design is the software norm to boost productivity, and I'm sure the students are learning, or if not, they need to learn the basics and be given the opportunity to use it in their respective fields. Mr. Speaker, where is our fashion industry? What support is being extended to designers to hold a fashion show? And as to artists and craft designers, they're desperate because they have nowhere to exhibit their artistic work. I attended an exhibition by young artists on Sunday in Cupid, and the place was leased to them by a firm at a concessionary rate. But it's not always easy for them to find a place where they can exhibit their products. 4B in the Academy of Design and Innovation Bill makes provision to promote multi-sectoral design. Let's wait and see, and I hope that the Minister will live up to the expectation of those of the students and the teaching and non-teaching staff. Like I've stated earlier, I don't intend to pick a quarrel with the Minister. He's a good man. I've known him since a very long time, over the establishment of the Academy of Design and Innovation, which of course will take over the powers and functions of the Institute of Fashion and Design. But I'm the first to say that we have to stay ahead of the curve, add value to our products, constantly reinvent our brands, new paradigm and right mindset, think big, and give the young the freedom to be creative and innovative. Break the vicious psychosocial circle. The Academy has to have an artistic and creative culture. Like all of us, we are strong proponents of cutting-edge policy, but relevant issues have to be addressed, like production room, dignified of the name with the state-of-the-art technology, good tutorial rooms, training with the best, like the Institute of Marangoni of Milan or St. Martin School of Fashion and Design. The Minister did mention that there has been a tying up with one of the institutions in Birmingham. But we need to get the best lecturers to deliver lectures and work in close collaboration with the dedicated staff. Technology brings the best lecturers in the lecture theater and practical teachers in the production room at the touch of the button. Clause 5G spells it out, but since 2015, the Institute has to expedite, walk brisker, walk the talk, brisker than Johnny Walker without the cane, Minister. And you can make it happen. You can do it, Mr. Minister, as long as you stay away from the hot stove of the dirty kitchen. And that's a tall order, but I expect you to do it, Minister. Now let me come to the award of degrees and diploma. Certificates call for clarity and certainty. The object is to level up. When the bill was introduced in May 2008, there was wide discussions with all stakeholders at the bar of public opinion because the core issue remains recognition of qualification. And the key word remains prestigious. Mr. Speaker, under the Higher Education Act, the Higher Education Commission and Quality Assurance Authority, an assessment report has yet to be submitted to justify the status of the tertiary institution. When was the last evaluation exercise carried out? The trend, as the Minister has stated, is the linkage between industry and academia. And there should be no compromise on leveling up the process. The linkage is clearly spelled out in the Institute of Fashion and Design Bill, reinforced, I agree, I grant the Minister, in the Academy of Design and Innovation Bill. And I recall when the bill was debated in the House, the linkage was clearly spelled out. And it was Ramasitanen in his intervention who referred to what Professor Bhattacharya has done at Warwick University, created a school and the degree awarded by the university, brand name, but the autonomy to be a center of excellence. Of course, I grant you, Rome was not built in a day, but unfortunately set ablaze overnight by Nero. Let me come to Kellogg School of Management, founded in 1908, which is the business school of the Northwestern University, a private research university in Evanston, Illinois, faculty, and the alumni and the students have made significant contributions to fields such as marketing, management sciences, and decision sciences. Mr. Speaker, competition is fierce. The Minister has said it, and markets no longer give us the special and differential treatment which we enjoy for export. Our upper middle income status mean export quality brand products, export or die. Many of our textile and garment factories have relocated their activities to Bangladesh, India, Malagasy Republic to make the most of the most favored nation status, Mr. Speaker. I have some information which were relayed to me by the MEGSA on export of textile and apparel jewelry. From information relayed to me, it seems that we exported 42.6 billion of textile and apparel and jewelry. That the sector textile and apparel employed 22,091 persons, and jewelry, watch, pearls, and precious employ almost 1,500 persons. Mr. Speaker, so it's a sector which is growing, has the potential, but of course, common things are common. Unfortunately, one of the problems which is besetting us is an aging workforce. And I hope government will seriously look into this issue because we have no choice but to open up. If you want to attract investment, we need to make sure that we have the workforce. Notwithstanding the workforce, which is being skilled, upskilled, and reskilled in our institution. That's why I say, Mr. Speaker, it's important to protect our brands, our patented products, and we have to wage war on dumping and countervailing products. We have to say no to counterfeit. Design and innovation of textile and garment, jewelry, arts and craft is the outcome of creative mind. As we say, catch them young, and school curriculum needs to be widened. I'm not going to specifically highlight what Le Bocage or other schools are doing. But let me say that Le Bocage is a trendsetter, and my plea is to widen the circle of opportunities in our primary and secondary schools. Why is Finland and Scandinavian countries more successful? There are lessons to be learned and drawn. The values of creativity, innovation are inculcated from infancy. We are doing all right, but inquisitiveness has to be a prominent feature of our culture. And against which background, Mr. Speaker, is this bill being introduced? In defiance of creativity and innovation? What is the crux of creativity and innovation if there's no freedom of information, if there's no protection of rights, Mr. Speaker, and patents? But the inquisitiveness, unfortunately, is being curtailed. And who's looking at you, kids? The big brother. The big brother is intercepting, who probably will sniff, will steal, and kill creativity. Let me look at the definition of design field. To me, it's too wide a spectrum, from fashion and textile to built-in and architecture. Yet to cluster, you have no choice, as we say, Minister. You cannot bite more than you can chew. And we have to produce for niche market. Let us get our act right and not like headless chicken running all over the place to be a recipe for disaster. As of now, Minister, there's a diplomatic row between Egypt and Mauritius over recognition of qualification in architecture, despite these qualifications from Egypt are recognized by EU and UK. Will the Council of Architect register graduates from the academy? The Mauritius Research Innovation Council has unfortunately suffered a huge setback since the departure of Professor Sadu. But I must acknowledge the goodwill and commitment of the minister. Unfortunately, there's a lot of resistance from the current director of the Mauritius Research Innovative Council. Mr. Speaker, if the board is to deliver, you need people who have a creative mind, who are forward-looking, who move with new trends. You cannot have people, unfortunately, like the director of the executive director of the Mauritius Research Innovative Council. I draw your attention. Make sure that this gentleman does not remove the cog from the wheel of progress. I know my good friend, the minister, certainly is monitoring the situation, but make sure that it does not happen. Now, we have, when you have an idea, it becomes relevant, as you said, Minister, if it is matured through research and development. And commercial value is added to it. And I'm glad that there's provision for patents and intellectual property rights. But we have to make sure that those who create, who innovate, get the fair share. And that has to be seen, and simply not treat them as students. Because if you want to give new thrust, new dynamism, not only you have to widen the circle, but you have to take on board those youngsters with creative minds. And the cluster is very important. That's why I asked the question, I said, where the outcome of applied, of research, development, and innovation in critical sectors of our economy. The Research Institute, FARA, and University of Mauritius have to cluster. This is the time also to think of food security and make contribution to a second green revolution, although it's not directly linked. But the other day, I saw a young man using newspapers and leaves to make a wedding dress. I don't know who's going to wear it, but at least he has a creative and innovative mind. Now, fashion suppliers and brands, like other companies, are facing significant economic and geopolitical challenges. McKinsey's State of Fashion Report 2022 highlight how global trends are disrupting the fashion industry. What companies have to do to adapt and to thrive? I'm sure the Minister has come across the relevant analysis and findings of this report. The report covers the concurrent effects of the many challenges facing both suppliers and brands, including the war in Ukraine, the pandemic, the inflation, and energy crisis. Recovery in the fashion industry is relatively fast, and it is now on its feet. The Academy needs to have a research unit, which mention is made. I'm sure it will have a research unit which can deliver and which will work closely with MEXA and other relevant stakeholders. Of course, the Minister has to insist on the best endeavors of the Council. No laid-back board meetings. The Academy has no more objects and wide powers, and to deliver it has to be run professionally to deliver. It has to safeguard and market the intellectual property rights and products of the Academy. I expect the Minister later on to elaborate. Minister, let me come to allocation of resources and budget to all research coordinators. These allocations have to be fair. Don't do what the Executive Director of the Research Innovative Council has done. Funding has to go to research officers who can deliver, because the impact is very important. Bring in the best and make sure that policies which are chalked out are policies which can be implemented and resources allocated to those who can deliver. Mr. Speaker, let me remind the House, there was a time when Mauritius ranked very high in the Global Innovation Index. We were 52. Now our ranking has gone down to 82. We were 52 in the Global Innovation Index. Our performance was described as a most notable rank, and certainly positive change for the country at international level. But those who have the potential to raise the profile should not be wiped out. When you prepare your new roadmap, or when government does prepare its new roadmap, bring in the best, because at the end of the day, we want Mauritius to be the winner. Let me come to clause 15, which provide the human resources for synergistic or harmonious blending between academia and industry. And I mentioned earlier the relevance and importance of adding commercial value to research, development, and innovation. And this is relevant to the development of incubators and entrepreneurs. Clause 4A refers to 5 sectors that are being targeted by the bill, and yet clause 8.1 refers to only 3 board members. Hopefully all sectors will be aptly represented on a permanent basis and not co-opted, and not as co-opted members. These people should come from the industry with at least 5 years of experience, if not more. The Academy has to comply faithfully to clause 8, 6, and 7, because we have seen too many departures from firm undertaking. And this is a fallacy, whatever is spelled out in the legislation. Unfortunately, I'm not talking of the legislation which you brought to the House, but sometimes there's no compliance and there's departure from undertaking given. Let me give one particular, cite one particular case. The independent police, how you call that, IPCC? It's a pity complaints commission. It's a pity that it has political activists sitting on the sitting as members of this commission, and that's what we don't want to see happen. Because when we look at clause 8, 6, and 7, it's clearly spelled out that there would be no person who's politically affiliated. Give them the freedom, give the board the freedom to act at large, to act with a creative mind and to deliver. And there should be no undue pressure being borne on staff or on the registrar in relations to recruitment. Let the academic council do its work. We have seen what has happened recently in relations to papers which allegedly have been leaked. The political landscape has to be far away. Let institutions deliver, Minister. Let me come to clause 19H. Now, I think this clause, I expect it to be more explicit. And once again, the different sectors, I've said, must be represented. Now, any provision regarding work and training placement in the industry, I expect the Minister to highlight this pertinent issue in his summing up, because much has been said on the nexus between industry and academia, but I have heard nothing in relation to or regarding work and training placement. Provision for the endowment funds, yes, should finance the studies of the outstanding students to the best institutions is welcome, because we have to put our best endeavor to bring our best brain. We have to be strong proponents of brain gain for endowment. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by saying, who would not love to live in a country whose economy is powered by high business investment, workers with better skills and innovation? The new denomination should not simply be a soundbite or buzzword. What we want is a strong link in the conveyor belt of development, and the academy can deliver, subject that we don't allow people from the dirty kitchen to interfere or to intervene. Thank you very much.
Members suspend the sitting for half hour.